I'm tempted to play the Jaron back at you, which is that so GitHub is amazing, but the thing is, if you have a stake, then if it's a social media platform, they can use the fact that you have a stake to manipulate you because you want to preserve the stake. So
Hmm.
like, so like,
Right. Well, this is why all right. This gets us into the economics. So there's this thing called data dignity that
yes.
I've been studying for a long time. I wrote a book about an earlier version of it called "Who Owns the Future,"
Mhm.
and the basic idea of it is that once again, this is a 30-year
It's
conversation.
a fascinating topic.
Let me
Yeah.
do the fastest version of this I can do. The fastest way I know how to do this is to compare two futures.
Mhm.
All right. So future one is then the normative one, the one we're building right now, and future two is going to be data dignity. Okay. And I'm going to use a particular population. I live on the hill in Berkeley, and one of the features about the hill is that as the climate changes, we might burn down and all lose our houses or die or something. Like it's dangerous, and it didn't used to be. And so, who keeps us alive? Well, the city does. The city does some things. The electric company, kind of, sort of, maybe, hopefully better. Individual people who own property take care of their property. That's all nice. But there's this other middle layer, which is fascinating to me, which is that the groundskeepers who work up and down that hill, many of whom are not legally here, many of whom don't speak English, cooperate with each other to make sure trees don't touch to transfer fire easily from lot to lot. They have this whole little web that's keeping us safe. I didn't know about this at first. I just started talking to them because they were out there during the pandemic. And so I try to just see, who are these people? Who are these people who are keeping us alive? Now, I want to talk about the two different fates for those people under Future One and Future Two.
Mhm.
Future One, some weird, like, kindergarten paint job van with all these, like, cameras and weird things drives up, observes what the gardeners and groundskeepers are doing.
Mhm.
A few years later, some amazing robots that can shimmy up trees and all this show up. All those people are out of work, and there are
Yeah.
these robots doing the thing. And the robots are good, and they can scale to more land,
Yeah.
and they're actually good. But then there are all these people out of work,
Mhm.
and these people have lost dignity. They don't know what they're going to do, and then somebody will say, well, they go on basic income, whatever. They become wards of the state. My problem with that solution is every time in history that you've had some centralized thing that's doling out the benefits, that things get seized by people because it's too centralized and it gets seized. That's happened to every communist experiment I can find.
Mhm.
So I think that turns into a poor future that will be unstable. I don't think people will feel good in it. I think it'll be a political disaster with a sequence of people seizing this central source of the basic income. And you'll say, "Oh no, an algorithm can do it." Then people will seize the algorithm. They'll seize control.
Unless the algorithm is decentralized and it's impossible to seize the control.
Yeah, but
It's very difficult.
60 something people own a quarter of all the Bitcoin. Like the things that we think are decentralized are not decentralized. So let's go to Future Two. Future Two, the gardeners see that van with all the cameras and the kindergarten paint job, and they say, the groundskeepers, and they say, "Hey, the robots are coming. We're going to form a data union." And amazingly, California has a little baby data union
Really?
law emerging in the books.
That's
Yes.
interesting. That's very interesting.
And so they'll and what they say, we're going to form a data union, and we're going to, not only are we going to sell our data to this place, but we're going to make it better than it would have been if they were just grabbing it without our cooperation.
Mhm.
And we're going to improve it. We're going to make the robots more effective. We're going to make them better, and we're going to be proud of it. We're going to become a new class of experts that are respected. And then here's the interesting, there's two things that are different about that world from Future One. One thing, of course, the people have more pride. They have more sense of ownership, of agency. But what the robots do changes. Instead of just like this functional, like, we'll figure out how to keep the neighborhood from burning down. You have this whole creative community that wasn't there before, thinking, well, how can we make these robots better so we can keep on earning money? There'll be waves of creative groundskeeping with spiral pumpkin patches and waves of cultural things. There'll be new ideas like, wow, I wonder if we could do something about climate change mitigation with how we do this. What about fresh water? Can we make the food healthier? What about all of a sudden there'll be this whole creative community on the case? And isn't it nicer to have a high-tech future with more creative classes than one with more dependent classes? Isn't that a better future? But future one and future two have the same robots and the same algorithms. There's no technological difference. There's only a human difference.
Yeah.
And that second future two, that's data dignity.
The economy that the game theory here is on the humans, and then the technology is just the tools that enable.
Yeah, I think you can believe in AI and be in future two. I just think it's a little harder. You have to do more contortions. It's possible.
So in the case of social media, what does a data dignity look like? Is it people getting paid for their data?
Yeah, I think what should happen is in the future, there should be massive data unions for people putting content into the system, and those data unions should smooth out the results a little bit so it's not winner take all. But at the same time, and people have to pay for it too. They have to pay for Facebook the way they pay for Netflix, with an allowance for the poor. There has to be a way out too. But the thing is, people do pay for Netflix. It's a going concern. People pay for Xbox and PlayStation. There's enough people to pay for stuff they want. This could happen too. It's just that this precedent started that moved it in the wrong direction. And then what has to happen, the economy is a measuring device. If it's an honest measuring device, the outcomes for people form a normal distribution, a bell curve. Mm-hmm. And then, so there should be a few people who do really well, a lot of people who do okay. And then we should have an expanding economy reflecting more and more creativity and expertise flowing through the network. And that expanding economy moves the result just a bit forward. So more people are getting money out of it than are putting money into it. So it gradually expands the economy and lifts all boats. And the society has to support the lower wing of the bell curve too, but not universal basic income. It has to be for the, because if it's
right.
an honest economy, there will be that lower wing, and we have to support those people. There has to be a safety net. But see, what I believe, I'm not going to talk about AI, but I will say that I think there'll be more and more algorithms that are useful. And so I don't think everybody's going to be supplying data to groundskeeping robots, nor do I think everybody's going to make their living with TikTok videos. I think in both cases, there'll be a rather small contingent that do well enough at either of those things. But I think there might be many, 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 many of those niches that start to evolve as there are more and more algorithms, more and more robots. And it's that large number that will create the economic potential for a very large part of society to become members of new creative classes.